I think we recovered 4 or 5 long guns, some shotguns, rifles, and very intimidating looking weapons. A couple of them had scopes. These are very deadly weapons.
Yeah, and as you say, people who are not really aware of the situation as far as guns are concerned, not just in Waterloo, it seems like across the country, you know, that is the way it is. And you just wonder, how do you get a handle on taking guns off the street?
Yeah, I mean, people have rights in regard to guns, but the people who have the right to maintain the weapon need to properly secure it.
Right.
You know, they garner some of the blame on this issue. And this isn't a problem solely to Waterloo.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing it in Cedar Rapids, we're seeing it in Chicago, we're seeing it in Milwaukee. It's just, the summer's not looking very promising,
No,
so
not.
everybody needs to pay attention, put some pressure on people, because we don't want to see any more needless, senseless deaths. It just breaks my heart when any life is lost before it's our natural time to go.
Well, we've certainly had our share, I'll say that, even though, as you know, the country, across the country, the same thing is happening. But that doesn't make it any, you know, less hurtful or harmful when, as you say, a life lost. And some of these people involved are so young, and you keep seeing the pictures in the paper, and you know that they're going to be sent away for life and that kind of thing. And so many times I think we look at the person or at the situation, we don't realize that this has an effect on everybody.
Yes.
On the immediate family, on the extended family, on the society we live in, you know, on everything that we do. That it has an effect. It isn't just that person that our heart aches for, or getting caught up in a situation where you know they're going to be in prison probably for the rest of their life. It's hard for people to know who to ask, what to do, what, you know, if it was just something simple or something physical. Well, if you go over here and dial this number, you know, it'll take care of that. Or if you do this,
yes,
it'll take. But that's not the case.
We wish we could wave that magic wand.
Yeah, yeah. And I still think, how often do we talk about kids, Chief, and parenting and non-parenting in a lot of cases where people don't have a handle on their children.
Yeah, that's the sad part, and that's the dilemma. I mean, if we could come up with a solution, Lou, you and I would win the Nobel Prize.
I guess, you know.
But it's tough to be a parent, and I think it's tougher to be a parent today than it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Because there are so many temptations that kids are exposed to.
And the pressure for these, you were saying kids are getting younger and younger, you know. I'm saying an 8-year-old, what would they need with the phone? I mean, sometimes I think we set our own children up, and then we do it out of love. We want them to be safe and all that, but it doesn't necessarily turn out like that. I mean, I'm not, you know, damning anyone. If you want to give your 4-year-old a gun, that's your prerogative to do that. But there certainly should be some, it's another set of guidelines that you need to go over with your child. You know, what is that phone? When is that phone? I mean, for me, it's like, oh my gosh, this child can be led away by a telephone, you know.
Well, and we need to explain to our children what the expectations are, and sometimes we forget that as parents. If the curfew, if our family curfew is 11 o'clock at night, you got to remind them of that. You got to tell them of that.
That's right.
If they're on the internet,
to be there.
Yeah, we have to articulate and specifically explain expectations to our children. I say the same with employees. Sometimes what we think is the simplest expectation, sometimes we have to articulate it and say, listen, this is, what's interesting, the situation in Des Moines is so interesting, where the superintendent she was exchanging sexually explicit emails with her lover. Somebody should have explained to her, listen, even though that's against, these are the expectations, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Here's an educated, supposedly intelligent person engaging in very foolish behavior.
Exactly. What do you see? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you know, it's just, and I feel very frustrated anytime I'm talking about not just this subject, because this subject leads to so much more. And I think that we just tend to, well, okay, you caught him, he's in jail, we
Yes.
look at it as the end. But look at all the tragedy that you left behind sometimes, especially if there was a life involved.
Well, I'm optimistic, Lou. Things are gonna get better. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Pass some of that around.
It's like running in sand. For every 3 steps forward we're taking, we're only sliding 1 step back.
Okay.
The sand caves in on occasion when we have a homicide or we have a shooting. That's that step back. But we are moving forward. I mean, look at the economy in Waterloo. It's not bad. There still needs to be more jobs because right now there's a large demand for skilled labor. But what do we do for that young man or that young lady that's only 16 or 17 and doesn't have skills? We need jobs that are compelling for them. I mean, our unemployment rate is down, the economy's looking up. I see a lot of promise. There's a silver lining to the cloud. We're going to have some setbacks, but I'm excited about where we're going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. And we look back, because we're seeing development in the city. We're seeing some of these blighted houses being torn down. But it's frustrating when we face these new challenges like K2. K2 is hitting the streets now.
Is
And it's
that the new
synthetic.
thing that you can drink something?
Yeah, synthetic marijuana. They call it bath salts. They're calling it
Yes, that was
incense.
a horrible incident
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
guy who had that bath salts.
Yeah, in Florida. I mean, we're seeing some crazy things with
Really
these
crazy
drugs.
things, yeah.
So we need to. These are the new challenges we're facing.
And is this not something that you can go in and buy without, you can buy it right off the shelf in any store or gas station?
You can, but the Iowa legislature has been taking action to make the components, apparently the ingredients that they're utilizing in these illegal. If they create a certain chemical compound, they're making it illegal. So that's a good tool for the communities and society to use to confront them. We're still dealing with some of our liquor store challenges in the community, but the city is being proactive in it, and they're coming up. As a matter of fact, I believe on Monday they're going to present a new ordinance proposal is going to be presented to the council to more effectively deal with regulating some of these liquor stores. But again, it goes back to we wouldn't even have a lot of these liquor stores in business if they didn't have customers. So, and I'm not a prohibitionist. I think people know I like to have a beer on occasion. I like my wine on occasion, but still, moderation is the key, and we need to be responsible when we indulge in some of these types of activities.
Can you tell, has this K substance got a hold in Waterloo already? And how would you know, unless the child starts acting strange or something, that they had indulged in this? And I think I read a story of an 8-year-old who just walked in and brought this stuff.
Well, education is the key. The media has been fantastic. The officers that are involved in limiting this have worked hard to educate the public, educate the stores that are selling it. The legislature has been helpful in limiting what can be sold and how it's made. So I'm optimistic we're going to be able to do something. And it was like our meth problem in this state for many, many years. It took a collaborative effort between many entities to finally have an impact on it. Yes, meth is still a problem in Iowa, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was 10 years ago. It was brutal here in Iowa. So we're making headway. The bad thing is once we get a handle on K2, what's going to be the next thing that crops up?
Or it's probably already out there just waiting. You know, those energy drinks, I don't understand it, but.
Heroin was a concern. Heroin was making a comeback within the past year.
Yeah.
It's still out there, but it hasn't hit Iowa and this area as bad as they thought it was going to hit about a year ago.
Okay.
But it's still an issue.
We're going to go back. I wanted to ask you again. You mentioned forensic. What is that? What does that term mean? Everybody, I mean, of course, you know, the TV has always got a lot of good stuff on about forensics. It's fascinating.
Well, I think the general public's going to think of the CSI shows where
Yes,
they're breaking down
exactly.
fingerprints and DNA. And forensics for computers is pretty much looking at the down deep files, the stuff that you're not normally going to see somewhat on the surface. You're going to dig down and see how this evidence got onto the computer, the paths, did it come in because it was purposely downloaded, or what can we prove to say this was an illegal act and this is what we believe it's being used for.
Okay. That sounds fascinating. And
Some of these people, when they end up with child porn on their computer, they say, well, that happened accidentally.
You hear a lot of, well, I must have got a virus, so I'll go in and track to say, okay, this is how this got it. It got from a file sharing network. It came as an attachment on an email. You downloaded it from a thumb drive that you obtained.
Is that possible that people can get these things on their computer and really didn't intend to, or is it a conscious choice?
We haven't seen any of the viruses that put that type of child exploitation on there.
Mm-hmm.
And if a virus does come on and pop up, it's usually, you'll be able to see that at this time, this virus popped up and it showed this picture, which is usually more advertisement, is what you see mostly.
It's highly unlikely to get these images on your computer accidentally.
Out of the clear blue, yeah.
And normally in the cases where you do find some illegal child exploitation, you're not going to find one or two that something like that would have popped up. You're going to find numerous files and different times that they were accessed and when they were downloaded.
Well, Chief, give us a quick synopsis on the two departments that are now one. Things going great?
Things are going great. I mean, we're making headway at both departments. What's interesting is two similar cultures, but the activities of both departments are so different, of course. And it seems like, everybody loves a firefighter, but typically everybody has a beef with a cop for one reason or another. Maybe it's because we're issuing citations on the police side.
Okay.
But it's been fun, it's been exciting, we're seeing some good things. This whole venture wouldn't be possible without the tremendous amount of expertise and help I get from Chief Trelka at the fire side and all the captains, especially Captain Leibold on the police side. Because in essence, they are both my assistants when it comes to the safety services department. And they're involved, they're in charge of operations at each department, and this whole venture wouldn't be possible without their skill, their knowledge, and their abilities.
Will there be more boots on the street this summer? Are you prepared?
Yes, because that continues to be one of our goals at the police department, is for the officers to engage in 10,000 hours of foot patrol. And it's nice when their evaluations are coming through, the officers have input in regard to their evaluation. The minute the officers are putting on their evaluation that they're going to get out of the car more and talk to people more. We're also going to, in our training, we're going to discuss verbal judo with the officers more because,
judo?
Yes, verbal judo, because sadly, every time, we can respond, one officer could respond to 2 or 3 burglaries in a day. By the time he gets that 3rd, that 4th, or that 5th burglary, it's the 3rd or 4th or 5th one for them. What we're forgetting is, for that victim, it's their first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we easily forget that.
Yeah. Boy, this has been busy time right here, and having you guys on has been wonderful. The chief really has brought into the idea of bringing other people over, sending them over, and it gives a much broader spectrum of what goes on in our community, in our society. It gives us one more way to reach out and find out things that we need to know, and things that we actually need to be aware of, and things that we should practice. And it's a great community, but it takes all of us. It really takes, or at least it takes the majority of us to turn things around.
It does.
Thank you so
You
much.
bet.
It's good to have you with us. Our guest today has been Eric Christensen and Jeremy Pohl, and of course the chief himself. Welcome. Come back again when you can. And this is Newport signing off.